Hey guys, welcome to the 2024 Worship Summit Live. My name is
Stoked to
Stephen
see this.
Heywood. Thank you so much for tuning into our speaking engagement here that we have. I'm going to be joined here momentarily by Greg Terry. This is our presentation. Greg is live right now from the war zone in Ukraine. Greg, what's going on?
Hey there, Stephen. Live and kicking. Yes, and folks, I'm not recreating Freddy Krueger. This is actually what I have to do, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But I first want to say thank you to PTZOptics for the invitation. And I've been chatting also with Paul and Tess, and of course Stephen all the time. We're buddies, we're neighbors, and it's my honor to be here. Unfortunately, it seems that every year that this rolls around, for the last few years, I've been in the war zone. So hopefully, if I'm invited back for next year's worship summit, it will not be in a war zone. But
Well,
regardless, we're good.
that's the hope, right?
Hmm.
Because I know a lot of people they watch Salt Talk, right? And they've been wondering like what happened to Salt Talk. And well, you've been in a war zone, so we had to put it on hiatus because you don't know when you're going to get signal. And that was something that I had asked you why you were sitting in the dark, and you were saying how you were 5 miles from the Russian border. Do you want to kind of elaborate a little bit, like what would happen? Like what's going on? Are they like tracking you? What's happening?
Okay, so first of all, for the gospel message of this, I want you to know that no matter where you're at, where you're watching from, and being a part of this worship summit today, if you really have a desire to use technology to get the gospel message out, you can do it. Right now, I'm 5 miles, about 10 clicks from the Russian border, and I'm under a rock right now. So when I knew it's my time to speak and all of this, we had pre-scheduled with my guys that I run around here with, and I'll tell you more about that in just a second, to make sure that we're in a safe location. And yeah, it's dangerous, guys. It's a war zone. It's horrible. I'm here to help people. I'm here to provide life-giving aid, to feed the hungry, to clothe those that are naked, to give medicine to the sick. And that's the gospel message. That's the gospel in action. And to do that, it takes a lot of money. And my personal YouTube channel has grown like crazy because I'm here on the front lines telling the truth about what's going on, from firsthand experience, firsthand witnesses, and it is allowing me a platform to minister the gospel. Now, many people around the world have come together, and not just Christians. I'm talking all religious backgrounds, non religious, left, right, middle, red, white, yellow, blue, purple, from Mars. It doesn't matter. They're coming together because they want to help people. And they found a way to do it because here we help people hand to hand. So right now, I'm actually looking into a PTZ Optics Studio Pro camera that is a boss of a machine. In fact, I had told Paul or Tess one, of course, you knew Stephen because you helped me get my gear ready,
Yeah.
to come here and be remote. You said, man, take the Studio Pro, and I messaged, it was Paul or Tess or maybe both. I said, your Studio Pro is going to a war zone, and I'm going to give it a real test. I can report to you right now that, and it's not a plug, it's just reality. The camera's the bomb. I'm looking into it right now. I have a laptop in front of me. I've got a couple of portable LED panels. I've got a Elgato Studio or Elgato Wavelink microphone here that I'm also using for my ears, and no internet. So I'm actually right now running through a Netgear Nighthawk. It's got a double SIM card in it, and I'm getting about 120 megabytes down and about 45 up. Additionally, I also have a Starlink, and we do whatever is necessary. Now here, I'm a part of the Kapelansky Battalion. That translates chaplain battalion. And for those of you that keep up with the war in Ukraine, you see down here, you may not be able to read it, but I'll read it for you. It says Mariupol, and this is a chaplain ministry connected with Ukraine that is helping not only military to provide spiritual covering, spiritual aid, and even medicinal aid and food, but also evacuate civilians, evacuate the wounded, help the elderly, feed, clothe, you name it, we do it. and it's amazing. It's very dangerous. There are drones everywhere, everywhere. So, like, my cell phone cannot have location services on. I can't use any of the cellular signals like that because the drone technology, they can link onto it and they come right after you. We have anti-drone detectors on our vehicle. We have night vision that we drive with. I mean, this is serious, guys. But I feel compelled to share the gospel of Christ in the worst situation. And this is it's really really bad here. And this is not political. This is not, we're not going to talk about war. I'm going to give you a couple examples. We're talking about the gospel of Christ. We're talking about how technology can be used in any situation to share the gospel and to get people aboard to help. And that's what we're all here for today. The Worship Summit is some incredible speakers that PTZOptics has lined up. I'm going to do my best to glean from all of them. And I'm just excited that we have our part to play in this.
No, absolutely. And I don't think people realize, the difficulty it is, you have to schedule a broadcast like this, uh, in advance to make sure that you are in the safest possible space. I mean, you got armed guards standing around the building to make sure that nobody's going to
Mhm.
bust in on you.
Yeah, I run
It's
on, and
crazy.
I run only with military, and that's because I want to stay alive. So I've got guys that help me. And everywhere I go, the front line here is 1,000 kilometers long. For those of you in the United States, that is 600 miles long of a war front. It's massive. And many volunteers or many chaplains or many of those trying to provide aid have been killed. And that is because they do it apart from the military. Now, Ukraine has stopped all of that because so many were killed. I also have a full press credentials here given to me by the Ukrainian military, and I have access everywhere. I also speak the language, um, so it's a little bit different for me. But there's a huge open door because I'm here, and the reason that door is open is because I've got a long track record, 26 years working here. I work with the military, I work with security, so we're all safe, but we're helping thousands and thousands and thousands of people, and we're making a difference. So it's real. When I knew this time was coming for me to be with Stephen, I've been here 3 hours under a rock, secure. And literally, in fact, let's do this, Stephen. Let's roll T. And I want people to understand something special. We're talking about technology, talking about ministry. Take a peek at this. This is about a 1 minute video. All right, guys, I know a lot of you are working and experiencing Ukraine through my eyes and my ears, my hands and my feet. And right now, what I'm doing up on the front is I'm having a nice cup of tea in the silver. And come on through. Having a nice cup of tea. And there's a nice cup of tea here. And you can see the hands of a hero. I think he's eating some candy right now. Confetti. Вкусно?
Дуже.
And what are we doing? We're sitting and talking, building relationships, and being friends. And this is the most important thing. Around a little stool with a cup of hot tea and a piece of candy. So it's awesome. So, guys, that's the gospel in a nutshell. Sitting there, now, that particular place, I'm sitting there with specialized soldiers who asked me to come by and to pray with them because they're being rotated to a new position that's extremely dangerous. And where they're at already is extremely dangerous. This is Greg. Come by here and pray with us. Let's have a cup of tea. Let's be friends. Let's talk. Give me some normal life. Tell me some stories. And guys, that's the gospel. That's the gospel of caring for people like Jesus did. And yes, we use technology. Yeah, cameras were there. And no, couldn't show faces. You saw their hands. Right after that video concluded, we were hit with a bomb, and the bomb dropped right across the road and down, just across and down, a 500-kilogram glide bomb. And when it hit, I mean, it was like, was it the Aretha Franklin song? I feel the earth move under my feet. I mean, it was, whoom. And the guys looked at me and says, Greg, we need to go. We need to go. And it got very, very hot there. And we're okay. Everybody's fine. But I literally, we grabbed our stuff, and we have body armor and all that jazz. And I grabbed that Studio Pro and I literally slung it into our truck as we were running out of there, literally. And I can tell you, I'm looking through the camera right now and it's working. It's very durable. So, it's great. But the point being,
Yeah.
this is it, guys. My goal today in my portion of the worship summit with Stephen is to inspire you to be compelled to share the gospel and use technology. Do not think, well, I just have a small church and this is a small thing. If it changes one person's life, is it not worth it? Of course it is. Of course it is.
I think people think sometimes that when you talk, and they see it on the news, that war, and then you talk to somebody that's on the front lines. I mean, even for me, you see it in movies and stuff. Has this changed your perception of all that now that you've been on the
Absolutely.
front lines?
Well, this is my 9th month being on the front lines, and yeah, it's changed my perception of priority. We think many times, and I know there's so many houses of worship represented in this event today, and probably worship leaders and technical people from churches and technology and media specialists and pastors. We think so much about what we have to do. We need to get this done right, this countdown, this camera angle, this smoke, this lights, all of this. Guys, let me be honest with you. That's all good. And my church at home, we're good at doing that. And in fact, we have all PTZOptics cameras and all this infrastructure and networking and all this jazz, and I thank God for it. But please hear me today. In reality, it doesn't mean anything if we're not focused on the gospel message. And the book of Romans says that the power of I'm not ashamed of the gospel, for it is the power of God unto salvation. And that's our hope, that people have an experience with God, and it's worth the risk. So you're probably not down the street from me right now. I would venture to say that's a pretty good guess, but that doesn't diminish your situation. Maybe you're here today and you're watching from Africa, and I do a lot of work in Africa, and you say, well, I have slow internet speed, I have this and I have that. Hey, there's a way. There's a way. You may be in some urban area, and you go, well, my church, they don't get it how important this is. There's a way. And if we keep the message of hope, and guys, you probably have recognized that the world's in a lot of chaos right now. If we keep the message of hope at the very center of what we're doing, it seems that God has a way of doing things and connecting and opening doors. They're
Let's
actually,
Well, that's what I wanted to ask you. You're
mhm,
there, you're on the front lines, you're helping people, you're handing out food and supplies and things. But you mentioned earlier about your channel, and you're keeping everybody abreast with the real news, not,
mhm.
you're actually there. You're not giving a commentary on what the other news is saying. You're there. You're
Yeah,
making this. How do you
I'm.
have time to do this?
We do not sleep. So, yeah, my channel is Greg Terry Experience on YouTube, and I also partner with Steven on Salt Talk and PTZ Optics, and it's just, listen, this is not a shameless plug, but I can tell you this right now: PTZ Optics cares about the houses of worship community, and it's very important, and they get it. So I'm very thankful to that. But I shoot a lot of video with permission. I have full press credentials here, and I have all of these IDs and all this jazz, and we work nonstop. this thing has exploded on me. Right now, people from over 40 nations are donating to our efforts, where they're seeing people fed and people clothed and life-giving aid happening, and they're seeing it. And people are compelled to do something good, and they found an avenue through us where they can actually, I say this on my videos pretty much every day. I'll be your eyes and your ears and your hands and your feet, but your heart is here with us, and you're going to see your love delivered. And I personally feel compelled. So up to this point, donations from around the world have totaled almost $500,000. Yeah, let that sink in. $500,000. And our church home there in Pennsylvania, administrating all this through our nonprofit, and it's crazy what's happening. So I am compelled to share the reality and the truth so that people can see, okay, I've donated to this big organization, that big organization, and I never know what they're doing. But there with Greg, I see that I bought that food and he's giving it to that kid. And may that same type of desire, honestly, I hope it's my portion today, is lighting a fire inside of you to say, you know what, that guy is crazy to be there doing that, but I see there's a passion there. I pray today that that same passion would burn in you, because we all have a part to play in the kingdom of God. And I'm just doing my part, Stephen's doing his, and you guys do yours.
It's awesome just to even see some of the clips and things that you've had from what's that?
I said, you think?
Oh, well, I mean, it's cool to see the clips of like the people,
Yeah.
in the sense of they're trying to keep a good spirit about themselves in the midst of the war. Like I can't imagine how any of us, like we all have it good here in the United States, as bad as it can be sometimes.
Let me
Like we
tell you
have it
something,
good.
guys. Well, and today we have viewers from all over the world. I'm telling you right now, you do not want to be anywhere near this zone. And guys, there's no media here. So whatever you're watching on your television, they're not here. I promise you. I'm here. And it's not about war and politics. It's about human life. And it's ugly.
Hmm.
With that said, I do have a clip I want you to roll, Stephen.
Okay.
Pavel Ivanovich, this guy is a legend. And this will be a good way to close out our portion today of the worship summit. Roll Pavel, and then we'll talk about Pavel.
Москали держали. Их тоже. Кто, как бы мы не были, а москали все ж таки. Мы ж слушали кого. Они ночью приезжают, забирают нам это что есть. Они такие гады, ты что.
Let me give you guys just a little bit of insight. We're just sitting here and chatting, and
Ну, а сейчас же поверила вся страна, видишь?
he's telling me the story of when he was a little boy. And instead of translating it all, he just told it all to me, and I'll just summarize it. But he was 12 years old and growing up in Ukraine. German soldiers came to his home and were staying there. And he says at 12 years old, I really didn't understand what was happening at that time in World War II. If I had known then what I know now, of course, I would have done differently. But this is the life that I've had. So from the World War II experiences as a boy, then into Stalin's army, then living in the Soviet Union, working in the Kyiv metro system, and now in 2024, having to deal with this horrible war. His heart just breaks because of the world that he's had to live in. And it's been a wonderful conversation. He's very animated. He's very detailed in his description. Every detail he remembers. And I thought it was very important to share it with you, that story. So just, if you look at this man and you think about the life he has lived, is basically from World War II occupation all the way through until now, with a large 20% of his country once again being occupied. So this is why he wants this to end and have a good life. Not for him, he knows he's toward the end, but for his children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren.
Wow.
Yeah, dude, listen, there's millions of those stories, but that's Pavel Ivanovich. He's actually become a part of my YouTube channel because he gives commentary and tells stories. And how I can't find any better way than for us to summarize our portion today of the Worship Summit. The man's just saying, I've seen it all. I've seen it all. And we live in a very challenging world. And every time I leave Pavel, when I'm going out the door, he always says these words, die Bog, die Bog, die Bog, meaning we're in God's hands. And today I encourage you that no matter what situation you're in the hand of God. Be faithful to what he's called you to do, and be thankful for the technology you have that you can use to help you get it done. And we bless you tonight from Ukraine.
Greg, thank you so much for joining us here tonight. And guys, just so you know, we will be back in April to do more Salt Talk when Greg's back here on the soil of the United States, hopefully with positive news as we
Kissing
get to
the
that.
ground.
Kissing the ground that he walks on. But we will be back then. And until then, enjoy the rest of the summit. We know there's a lot of great speakers there. And we'll see you next time. We'll see you later on. Have a great rest of your summit.